Hello and welcome back to the Smart Process YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to have a quick discussion about the differences between CT operated and direct connected, and we're going to talk about the benefits of both as well. We're also going to do a drawing for you so you can see the exact difference and how them types of meters are actually installed and set up. So we'll draw some diagrams for you as well so you can see. So first of all, we've got direct connected, and this is your more traditional type meter, also referred to as an inline meter, where essentially it's better for when it's a brand new installation because you can wire straight through. So you'll have your live, your say it's three phase, you've got your three lives and your neutral, and this will wire into the meter, and then the meter will feed the load. So this will be either before or after your distribution board, depending on exactly what you're monitoring. If you want to drill down on the specific circuits or a subboard, or if you're monitoring the main distribution board, whatever that might be, the meter will sit in line of the supply. So that's direct connected. CT operated, where the meter sits separate from the supply and is fed from a different voltage reference, fed from an MCB inside the distribution board. And then you have CT clamps that either clamp round or the cable will be wired through the CTs, and the CTs will monitor the current, and then the CTs will be wired back to the meter to provide the current reading to the meter using that current reference from the CTs and the voltage reference from the MCB. The meter will calculate kilowatts and total kilowatt hours, and so that's CT operated. So we'll just go ahead first and do CT operated. So we've got our incoming supply, mains incoming. It's going to be three phase, but I'm just going to keep it single phase for now, or just use a single cable, just so it doesn't get too confusing. So this will be a main incoming supply into the distribution board. And then we'll just do a simple drawing into the load, which will be a house, three-phase house, which we can obviously get. I mean, it's the same for single phase or three phase. Obviously, it just means that you'll be monitoring one phase rather than three. But we're just, as I mentioned, we're just going to use one cable for now for the purpose of this drawing. So for CT operated, you would have an MCB in your distribution board that would feed the meter. Do some labeling. dB, meter. We know this is the main incoming supply. So this is your MCB, and this will feed the meter the voltage reference. So it'll give it 230 volts for single phase, 400 volts for three phase. Now this is where the CTs come into play. So say we want to monitor the load of the house, the CT would clamp around the phase or phases that is actually feeding the load that we want to monitor, and they'll have two connections that go back to the meter. We'll do the two connections for this. That'll be your S1 and S2 connections. So now the meter is being fed a current input from the CT, and it's able to work out your total kilowatt hours. So on this side we'll do direct connected, not to be confused with direct current, because direct current, alternating current, obviously two different things, but we sometimes say DC when referring to direct connected, but yeah, it's important not to get confused between the two. So direct connected, same scenario, come this side again. We'll have the incoming supply to the distribution board, which will be feeding the load. Incoming supply, feeding the distribution board, feeding the load. So with a direct connected meter, now you would have to either break this cable if it's an existing supply that you want to monitor, or if it's a brand new supply, you would install the meter in line and it would feed straight to the load. So this is the difference between CT operated and direct connected. You can see here. And now we're going to talk about the benefits, the pros and cons of both. The pros of CT operated is ease of installation. This allows you to retrofit metering without having to rip this cable out to be able to feed it through the meter. Rewiring it can obviously cause problems, it can cause shutdowns, it can cause extra costs, and it's just simple. You can easily just, if you've got a split core CT, you can just clamp the CT around the cable, and therefore you can monitor the supply via retrofit. So easy installation, retrofitting. Also, the case where you would need to use CT operated metering is if the supply is over 100 amps. Most direct connected meters only have a input of 100 amp. So if the supply exceeds 100 amp, then it would be recommended to use a CT operated meter. So with CT operated meters, you can use up to any amperage it may be, even if it's 100 amp or less, because again, we can retrofit. If this supply is only 50 amps, we can use a 50 to 5 amp or whatever the CT input might be of the instrument. We can use CT still on things that are below 100 amp. But if it is over 100 amp, then we have to use CTs, because as I mentioned, direct connected meters are only up to 100 amp max. Sometimes 120 amp, but generally you wouldn't want to push it over that because it could cause problems. So yeah, another benefit is measuring over 100 amp current. And again, you can go up to whatever the amp may be, whether it's 6,000, 10,000, 50,000 amps. CT operated metering allows you to do that. So the negatives of CT operated metering, there are a couple as well. Obviously, there's always pros and cons with things. We mentioned easy install. When I was referring to easy install, I really mean that you don't have to rewire, which could incur extra costs on labor or on parts, and it could cause inconvenience as well. For example, if it's a hospital and the hospital needs the electricity supply to keep on life support or any vital equipment, obviously you can't turn off the supply because it needs to be constantly flowing to support those machines. So that's why CT operated metering is beneficial and easy in that sense. But the one of the problems of CT operated metering is actually mistakes on installation. So for example, your CT could be facing the wrong way, and then it'll be providing a negative reading to the meter, i.e. export, when it should be import. And also the S1 and S2 connections, these ones here, they can be the wrong way round, which can also cause the same issue. And then just general wiring installation issues as well. Maybe the terminals get wired into the wrong terminals on the meter, or any type of wiring mistakes. So those are the negatives in terms of installation. So we'll call that human error on install. Another negative is the cost. You have to buy the meter and the CT. If it's 3-phase, you have to buy 3 CTs because you need 1 per phase, unless it's a block CT. But generally, if you're doing split core, which is the most popular, you need 3 CTs, 1 per phase. So there is an extra cost for the CTs. With obviously direct connected, you just buy the meter and you're good to go. So that's one of the negatives as well. Cost for CTs. The other negative is accuracy. With direct connected metering, obviously the meter has got an accuracy rating or an error rating, room for error. So for example, for our meters, the E-Strom meters, most of them are class B, which is 1%. So it could be 1% over or 1% under in terms of the reading. That goes with the CT operated meters as well. It's class B, but then you've also got a class accuracy rating for the CTs themselves. So if the CT is class B and the meter is class B, then that's a total of 2% leeway. So accuracy. And it's not that CT operated metering is inaccurate. It's just that if you really are worried about accuracy, then direct connected gives you ever so slightly more accuracy. But I mean, 2% is nothing to be worried about. And all of our products are MID approved anyway, which ensures that accuracy and UK legislation for billing purposes. So it's not to say that they're inaccurate, but direct connected metering might be slightly more accurate. So now on to direct connected Pros of direct connected metering. Well, let's start with accuracy, as we just mentioned. You'll tend to get a more accurate reading with direct connected meters just because that leeway is only, the burden is only on the meter, not on the CT as well. So if it's 1% or Class B accuracy rating, then that's the guaranteed accuracy between 1%. So accuracy is definitely one pro for the direct connected meter. And again, we don't want to repeat ourselves too much, but cost, because you don't have to buy the CTs. So cost tends to be a little bit lower on the direct connected side. And then again, installation, I mean, they're fairly easy to install. They have live 1, live 2, live 3 and neutral. And then, so it will go in one side, whether it's the top or the bottom, depending on which meter or which version you have. And it will come out the other side the exact same. So in terms of actually installing the meter itself, it's very easy. But of course, we spoke about the pros of CT operated metering where you can retrofit. With this direct connected, it's going to be a little bit more difficult retrofitting the meters because it's going to require rewiring and possibly site shutdown. So we've got easy install on new site, but then the negative would be longer on retrofit, more fiddly, more work to do, more cost possibly in terms of the installation, just because of the time and what it actually takes to do so. Negative, so limited to 100 amps. So just to recap and kind of go over which one we would choose in different scenarios, I think CT operated is definitely the most popular due to the ease of installation and a lot of installations being retrofit. Direct connected is obviously chosen for new developments or new projects, new estates, whether it's a residential estate or whether it's a commercial estate. Direct connected, just because of the cost, is kept down a little bit, but mainly it's CT operated these days, much more common and obviously beneficial for if you're retrofitting or if the supply is over 100 amp. So they're the main things really, but here are the pros and cons of CT operated and direct connected metering. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments or get in touch with us, Smart Process, on 01268 773 422, or feel free to send your inquiry over to enquiry@smartprocess.co.uk. And that'll be all for now. See you in the next one. Thank you.